guys, Vanessa Ham here, Chief Catalyst and owner of Accendi Solutions. Really excited to talk to you this week because I'm going to share with you a little bit about fear. Now, fear is one of those things that we all suffer from, right? We all experience fear, and we experience fear perhaps in different ways in our lives. And so what I want to do with this video is just sort of plant some seeds with the concept of fear. And again, like communication, this is one of those topics that is not a short, quick, learn it and you're done. This is something that you'll want to continue to invest in both yourself and in other people with. So this is one of those topics that you really want to share about. So welcome to this week, and we'll talk about fear. Now, I want to start with defining fear. So what is fear? A lot of people are familiar with John Maxwell, Your Roadmap for Success. This is the book that I want to use this week. And in here, he has a whole chapter on fear. And I love his definition of fear. So John Maxwell says, fear is interest paid on a debt you may not owe. So let's think about that. Fear is interest paid on a debt that you may not owe. So what is a debt, right? A debt is something that you have borrowed something, or you've utilized something that's not yours and you owe it back, right? So a debt is you being required to give something back to someone, right? So I borrowed this book from you. I am in debt to you about this book. I have to give it back to you. We typically think of debt in terms of money, right? So a credit card, we borrow money from the credit card companies, and we use that money, and the credit card companies say, you can use that, but you're going to owe us X, Y, or Z back, okay? Typically that chunk of money plus a whole lot more. So that's debt. So John Maxwell is saying that fear is debt. Fear is interest paid on a debt you may not owe. So like we were talking about in that finance example, you've got your debt, your original amount, and then you've got interest, whatever above and beyond that you're being charged. So fear is interest. Fear is that above and beyond piece on a debt that you may not owe, a debt that may not even exist. So let's put this in terms of an actual fear. So let's say you have a fear of heights. Okay, so you have a fear of heights, and that may be valid, but maybe that fear starts to creep its way into things like going on airplanes. Okay, so now you've got this dampening effect on your ability to do a certain thing or be comfortable in a certain area. Okay, let's say your fear of heights grows to include things like being in a 10-story building. Well, now your fear is again controlling more of your life, and it sort of creeped its way into additional areas, okay? What happens if fear of heights suddenly moves to your second-story house, or to climbing into your car, or climbing on your bed, okay? All of a sudden, that fear is controlling a whole heck of a lot more than what is really reasonable. And in your mind, if you don't stop to think these things through, you don't stop to address them, this fear of heights could actually become really, really ludicrous and could really affect so many dimensions of your life. Now, fear of heights, well, that's a relatively easy example for us to look at, right? But what about if that fear was something else? What about that fear of public speaking? What about the fear of intimacy? What about the fear of raising children, of being a parent? What about the fear of following your dreams? What about the fear of waiting on God or being open to a relationship with God? There's a lot of different fears and a lot of different ways that fear can influence us in our lives, and it's the same thing. We may start to become more afraid of things than what we really need to. And if we don't stop to take a look at that and learn how to address some of those fears, we could get to a place where fear really, really starts to impact our entire lives. So I want to continue talking to you about fear. And to really start to plant these seeds, I want to share with you something that I learned in the change management world. So change management is an area of study of business where you help people get on board with changes that affect them personally, and you help them move through or process through any reservations that they may have or any resistance that they may have to that change. Now, that's a topic for another video, but one of the methodologies that is highly recognized and widely used is ProSci's ADKAR methodology. So ADKAR, ADKAR. But the first letter of that first A, the first letter of ADKAR is awareness, is what it stands for. So ProSci and other change management organizations, entities, understand that I can't expect you to get on board with a change if you're not aware of the change, right? That's a little unreasonable to say, well, Billy, why didn't you know that now we're requiring you to have 30 minutes of reading in every day, whereas, you know, yesterday it was only 15, or maybe yesterday it was 60. Okay, so we can't expect you to change a behavior or to get on board with the change if you don't know that the change even exists. So that's the first letter in the word ADKAR. And you want to move through all of these letters in order. And again, I'm going to talk to you more about ADKAR and change management later. But awareness, I want to bring into this topic of fear, because I want to give some ideas or some suggestions on how you can start to become friends with your fear, perhaps. So the first thing you want to do is you have to be aware, right? You have to be aware of your fears. What is going on and what is motivating you, and why is fear motivating you? And there are two simple ways that you can start to do that. The first is you can journal. Okay, so when you feel yourself starting to get stressed, or you feel yourself actually afraid, there's a big presentation coming up and you've got butterflies in your stomach, and you're kind of sweaty palms, and your hands are, you're feeling all clammy, or maybe you think you're going to be sick, I don't know. Whatever it is that, that you sort of act out in or play out in with fears. So as soon as you're aware of them, write them down. Start to become friends with what it is that's making you afraid. And accountability is the second thing that I would recommend. So accountability, tell your friends, tell your spouse, hey, look, I'm going to start looking at some of these fears, and looking at fear makes me afraid. But can you walk part of this journey with me? So if things get overwhelming, can I call you? Can you be there for me and just listen and sort of help me, talk me down off that ledge, whatever that ledge may look like? Okay, so the first thing is awareness. All right, the second thing is to pray for grace, right? So we have an abundance of grace, or opportunities for grace in our lives. And as Catholics, we have sacraments, sacramental grace. So going to daily Mass, going to confession every single week, going to confession, making time for the daily rosary and for adoration. Get an infusion of grace into your life, okay? Don't tackle these huge things. Do it in small chunks if you need to, but start getting some consistent infusion of grace into your life. Whatever you're doing right now, add something, okay? It could be adding 5 minutes to it. It could be adding another day of daily Mass. It could be adding whatever it happens to be, but add something to what it is that you're already doing. Bring in more grace into your life. And invite God into that space. I think we so often forget that this is an option for us. We sort of just think that if we just pray about things sort of ambiently, then all will be well. But no, invite God into that space. God, I'm really scared about giving this presentation, and I acknowledge that, and I invite you into this space. Please help me do well with this, God. I want to do it for your glory. Invite God, invite the Holy Spirit into that space. And the third thing that I want to recommend is just to take baby steps, right? Start biting that elephant one tiny nibble at a time, okay? You're never going to get anywhere if, first of all, you don't acknowledge the fact that there's an elephant in the room. But second of all, you need to start taking some small steps towards making that elephant not so large. And there's so many ways that you can do that. So those are my 3 suggestions, right? Take baby steps into the fear, or at least acknowledging that the fear exists. I want you to start becoming more aware of it through journaling and through accountability. And I want you to pray for the grace and invite God into that space. Steps into it. So if you start looking at those 3 elements, I think you're going to be in a much better place with fear. And all of a sudden, you're not going to be paying interest on a debt that you don't owe. Okay? Now, we will always have fear in our lives. Fear is just sort of part and parcel with original sin, right? Because what happened in the Garden of Eden? In the Garden of Eden, Satan tempted Adam and Eve, saying, if you eat of this fruit, you will be okay. Because right now, you're not okay and you can't trust God. That was the lie that he planted. And I'm guessing in your heart, somewhere deep down inside, there's probably a little shred of that lie still operating. And that lie grows and grows and grows in terms of fear. All right? So let's start taking some small baby steps towards addressing that and really fueling your life so you can have true freedom, freedom from fear, because Christ, the Son of God, did not die on a cross for you to live a life of fear, of mediocrity. He wants you to have an abundant life, and he says that he is the way, the truth, and the life. There is nothing outside of that. So I hope this has been helpful for you to start thinking about fear and how fear perhaps plays a part in your life. So start getting aware of fear. Start getting a handle on some of those fears and invite God into that space, okay? As always, you can follow me, Accendi Solutions, on social media, sort of all over the shop right now. I do ask for your prayers as I continue to build and grow Accendi. This is all for you. It's all for the glory of God. So I'm so delighted that you were here with me this week, and I look forward to speaking with you again. God bless. Take care.